Good morning.
Hello, Elizabeth. How are you?
Another day. I'm okay.
Okay, we can do it. We don't have this ball by the horn here.
Okay, you'll be the cheerleader.
Okay, the Hans will be the cheerleader.
Okay.
Tell me one thing, the dates, June 11, okay?
Um, we're just gonna have to make it work. Yeah, June 11th can work.
Okay, 3 days before the deadline, the June 7th for the deadline.
Okay.
Okay, one. Okay, let me find my script now. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm gonna mute myself for a second. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, we got a lot of people here. You guys, good morning, everybody. Jason, good morning. I already said hello to Elizabeth. Hans, you're there. Thanks. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's not too bad. 11 people. We can do it.
Good morning to you as well, Tatiana.
But don't make me host, stay host. She's crazy. She just hung up on me. Oh my goodness. Uh, anyway, we're working. We're gonna make this through. Okay. Don't hang up on me like that because I have something to say. Okay.
Madam Hearing Examiner, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. How are you today?
I am all right. How are you?
I'm happy to be here, holding this bull by the horn.
Outstanding.
Okay. Let's wait 3 more minutes. Anna's gonna take care of admitting people hands, okay?
Yeah. Anna, can you make me co-host, please?
Three more minutes. Hans, I'm not gonna ask the parties to introduce themselves because it's gonna take too long. What do you think? Hans,
Yeah, for purpose of, I don't think it'll be necessary to individually introduce each respondent, so.
okay. 2 more minutes.
John or Anna, who's in the building today? I'm just trying to confirm if anyone is physically present at the hearing room or not.
I am in the office today, and I understand that people who physically came to the building will be routed to the hearing room.
Okay, I'm just wondering who's sitting in there right now to confirm if they're, okay, there we go.
So Anna, can you let us know when you admit them all?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, Erika.
Yes, we have two individuals present in the hearing room, but they represent several motor carriers.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, let's wait a couple of more minutes because it's a lot of parties today. Can you see Hans when she has admitted everybody? Because I cannot see that now.
I've got one in the waiting room. Let me go ahead and admit them.
Okay. So,
There's Casey.
Okay, so I think I should begin now. So I will be reading part of the script to make sure I don't miss any requirements. I thank you for your patience. I'm going to first introduce the parties in this case. Then we're gonna explain the purpose of today's hearing, which is basically set a date for the hearing, give you a couple of ground rules for that hearing, and also set the deadline for filing your 2022 annual report. I'll get into that in more detail, and then we're going to speak about the public hearing itself. So we are in the case today in the matter of the motor carriers for failure to file annual reports, case numbers 23-00354, trend 23-00355, trend 23-00361, trend 360, trend 367, trend 370, trend 377, trend 378, trend 379, trend 381, trend 392, trend 393, trend 395, trend 398, trend 4300402, trend 2300413, trend. So within those cases, there is a lot of cases, but this is the categories that we have decided to make in this case. The date is Thursday, Wednesday, May 29, and the time now is 9:04. This pre-hearing conference is taking place via Zoom and also in person in a hearing room here. And I'm conducting this pre-hearing conference at the Office of the Public Regulation Commission, that I will call either PRC or Commission, in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So at this moment, there is only one hearing examiner designated by the PRC commissioners, but I have a co-hearing examiner today with me to help me out as the amount of work in this case is overwhelming. So we're going to be dealing with this together. He's going to be appointed eventually pretty soon. Please introduce yourself to the parties, Mr. Mueller.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hans Muller. I will be one of the hearing examiners presiding over the hearings.
And my name is Tatiana Perez Valero. So may I have appearances for the parties? Please beginning with staff, commission staff.
Good morning. My name's Elizabeth Jeffries. I'm an attorney for the Transportation Division of the PRC.
Good morning, Ms. Jeffries.
Morning.
Anyone else?
John Bagacco here, and I'm just riding on Miss Jeffrey's coattails today for this pre-hearing, representing Transportation Division staff. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner.
Good morning, Mr. Bogatko. Thank you. Anyone else for staff?
No, that's it for staff.
Okay, so for efficiency of this proceeding, respondents need not state their names. You will be provided instruction at this hearing and the steps you need to take to get this case resolved. So it's many people. This pre-hearing is not being recorded. It's an informal pre-hearing. We will not say we will not request to state appearances for everybody that showed up. Pursuant to the pre-hearing order set in this conference, the Commission Transportation Division staff was required to provide a list of categories of cases and a date for the public hearing. Do we have a date for the public hearing, Ms. Jeffries or Mr. Bogato?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Mr. Bogato, it was June 11th. Is June 11th a good date?
Madam Hearing Examiner, I think June 11th, subject to check. I believe Miss Casey Dunn is in the Zoom meeting, and I would like to confer with her to make sure that the 11th would work for a public hearing. Casey,
Okay.
if you would
Yes.
chime in, please.
The 11th works for me.
Thank you.
It works. Okay, wonderful. So, and the deadline to file, the deadline for respondents to file their 2022 annual report. Would,
Casey, I'm sorry, Madam Hearing Examiner. I would confer with Transportation Division staff again then on that too. Ms. Dunn, was there a date for the deadline for the supplemental filings of the 2022 annual reports that worked for staff?
All the way up to the 7th is okay with staff.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Dunn.
yeah, that is wonderful. This way it will give enough time for people to receive the notices by mail, when they don't have emails, and the notices of the Zoom hearing and so forth. For the purpose of this pre-hearing, I will let Hans chime in and continue. Would you like to do that, Hans, or?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Mr. Bogato and Ms. Jeffries, one thing I want to discuss now that we've arrived at the date of the public hearing for June 11th is a systematic way to handle the cases without one lump sum. I'm going to share my screen. To give you an idea of what I would propose. And that would be to start off with 354 at 9 o'clock in the morning, proceeding with 355, 361, 363 at 10 o'clock, 367, 370, 377 at 11, breaking for lunch, then resuming with 378, 379, 381 at 1, 392, 393, 395 at 2, and 398, 402, and 413 at 3:30. Do you have any questions or concerns if we were to adopt a schedule similar to this one?
Mr. Hearing Examiner, I'm a stranger to transportation cases, so I would defer to our lead counsel, Ms. Jeffries, on her assessment.
I mean, I think it's an ambitious schedule. We can try it. You might want to build a bigger break in there between like midday, just so that if we run late, that there's time for people to get lunch.
Okay, so a 1:30, 2:30, 3:30 instead?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there going to be any challenges with the parties knowing which time to attend?
I would imagine so. I'm not sure if the parties all know which case they're associated with because of the way that the notices were going out earlier.
Should we suggest a phone number to call to find out what the case is?
I wouldn't,
several phone
yeah, I
numbers.
wouldn't recommend that. I think that if you're sending out the notices, that the people should know that they're getting the notice with the designated time and just make clear which case they're in. That would probably be your best bet.
So the group of notices would be divided in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 types of notices.
So my recommendation actually would be that each case number receive a separate notice directed to the people who are associated with that case number. So that there would be 16 separate notices to each, one to each group.
Okay.
And
The
that
way we,
also is better for the record in order to show that each person received the requisite notice.
right. That's what we did for the pre-hearing, so we will continue that way. Okay.
Ms. Jeffries, do we have an approximate number of businesses that are still subject to revocation who have not come within compliance yet?
So it's my understanding that we have just shy of 800 motor carriers who have not responded to any of the proceedings.
And of that number, what would be your approximation that we just have not received any response whatsoever?
I mean, that is the number. There have been no responses from just shy of 800 carriers.
Okay. All right.
And we'll have a better number, obviously, before we go into the hearing because there's still extended opportunities for responses.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I think this is the schedule I will adopt because it will be virtually impossible to have hundreds of parties into one virtual Zoom hearing. We will probably also extend the hearings out to be hybrid so that anyone who does not have Zoom capabilities but wants to appear at the hearing room at the PRC's building, the Bochum building. The hearing room will also be available for those who do not wish to attend by Zoom or do not have the capability. So it will be hybrid proceeding. I will be presiding over Zoom, and Ms. Perez Valero will be presiding in public in the hearing room. All right, with that, I'm going to adopt this schedule, and we will go through. That'll be sent out to the parties, and if they have, we will try our best to make sure the notice gives them their appropriate time. If they have any questions, we will also have we will have contact information so you know exactly when. That being said, if you are represented by an attorney only, attorneys only for this case, because I understand we have attorneys that are handling multiple people. If you are confused what time you should show up, I'm gonna say you can reach out to me as well to just for purposes of what case do I belong to? And obviously not for substantive issues, but strictly for making sure that you are representing your client at the appropriate time. Let's review basically how these hearings will be conducted and the purpose of them. The purpose of the hearing itself is basically to review whether or not the motor carriers have filed their 2022 annual reports before the hearing date. And that procedural order will be issued today or tomorrow with the date that we just discussed. and everyone should receive it by email, or if no email has been provided, by mail. The information will also be posted on the PRC website, including the schedule. You will receive a link in the scheduling order, but in any event, the email to accept any annual reports or to confirm whether the PRC has received it is annualreports@prc.nm.gov.
Wait a minute, Hans. Annual dot reports at prc.nm.gov.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen and it's highlighted right here. Annual.reports@prc.nm.gov. That is going to be our intake. So let me just go through some frequently asked questions that we have received to date, so you know what you need to do to make sure you are off this list. For those of you who have previously filed their annual report, but you feel you are still subject to this revocation list, all you have to do is send basically the email proof that it was received and accepted by the Transportation Division. You can do that by sending it to that email address. Proof can be in the form of an email or a scanned letter from the PRC attached in the email, or via postal mail. The best method is via email because it is faster, and you want to be able to track that mail gets to us before the June 7th deadline. If for some reason you do not know whether the 2022 annual report was submitted, let's say you used a compliance officer or outsourced it to a compliance third party, please check with them to see whether or not that was completed, get confirmation from them. Or please submit it again, just for reference sake, to that email address. Really, come the hearing date, I'm not going to be too interested to hear, yeah, I think so-and-so did it, but I'm not sure. So please check with your compliance officer, whoever was responsible, to do that. If they don't give you a firm answer, tell them to submit it as soon as possible before that June 7th deadline. If you are unsure, we've seen some questions that are unsure whether it was accepted, claiming that it was submitted but wasn't accepted or received by the Transportation Division. Just as I said before, forward that copy of the email where you sent it to the Transportation Division to that email address. If you closed your company.
Here, Hans, can they also send it again? Because if they have it, they have sent it, just send it in case.
Yeah, you can always attach it to that saying, here it is again as well, correct. If you closed your company and just haven't given us, just give us a statement, which includes the date when your business was closed. I've got one other person in the hearing rooms. If you file now and get the confirmation, you will not need to attend the hearing.
We will recommend dismissal.
Right.
Of the case for the final order for the commission.
And basically, Transportation Division staff will be reviewing that, and the hearing examiners will be reviewing the individual dockets, which I just listed, to see who has filed a response indicating that they had submitted. So we will be double checking any list submitted to see whether or not reports were actually submitted. So to recap, the only issue that I'm going to be interested in hearing during the hearing is whether the respondent has complied with their filing of the 2022 annual report. So the rules at hearing are going to be a little bit different. Hearing examiner Perez Valero and myself will be conducting these hearings as bench hearings. So the only evidence for purposes of this hearing, the only evidence required is the 2002 annual report and the submission method to the PRC by the respondent. So this would only really apply to people that feel they submitted their report, did not receive any sort of confirmation from staff here that their report was received and accepted. That is going to be probably the only issue at issue for purposes of this hearing. Rather than go through at the beginning of the hearing, staff who has the burden of proof will submit their list of the carriers in those individual cases who they feel are not in compliance. I will review that list at that time, and staff, I will be requiring that list ahead of the hearing so I can begin to check it. I will set a date for that, but I do want that ahead of the hearing. At that time, if you are still on that list, I will then allow individual respondents to pose their evidence to me or Judge Perez Valero, indicating that yes, they did submit and they should not be on the revocation list. Basically, cross-examination will be limited to the hearing examiners for both parties. This is just to make orderly, without orderly process, without unnecessary back and forth cross-examination. So you'll be able to present directly to the hearing examiner to make a determination as to if the annual report was properly submitted prior to the deadline. And like I said, we have had plenty of extensions of this deadline. So if it's not done by June 7th, as of right now, we are not sure whether or not what recommendation will be made to the commission for further extension, for requests for further extensions of the deadline. Please remember that the commission will be making the final order in this. The decision will not come from the hearing examiners. Our role is merely to preside over the hearings. If any party disagrees with the idea of evidence, obviously staff will be presenting their recommendation of those who haven't complied. That is their only piece of evidence. Then basically, if you are at the hearing, I expect you are objecting to whether or not you should be on that list subject to revocation. So you don't need to object to their record lists. You will be able to present your own individual case why you should not be submitted. Any witnesses proffered at the hearing should strictly be limited to the individual who submitted the annual report to the PRC. There's really no other witnesses necessary for purposes of the hearing other than the individual who submitted the annual report, so they can testify as to, yes, this was the email that I submitted, or this is the manner in which I submitted the annual report to the PRC. The hearing examiner may ask questions to any of the witnesses. Like I said, this will be done as a bench hearing. Normally, the commission requires prepared testimony. The hearing examiners are going to give a variance to that prepared testimony Like I said, this will be done as a bench hearing. Ultimately, the commission will make the final, after the transcript is made, the commission will be the ultimate ones making the final order regarding which companies are ultimately revoked. This will not be determined by the hearing examiner. So with that, I will, both hearing examiner Perez Valero and myself will stand for any questions that you may have regarding this. If you're on Zoom and you are aware how to use the hand gesture, which is under the more button, with the three dots, the ellipses, there's a hand gesture to raise your hand. I'd prefer that if you have a question, but we'll take any questions now.
Yes, and just to recap, the only issue to be resolved here is whether the respondents file their 2022 annual report. So if you file it now, you don't need to show up. It's over. We will recommend dismissal of your case. Easy. Okay? Somebody has the hand up.
Mr. Hearing Examiner, there are all the participants are in mute, so you may suggest them to unmute their phones if they have questions they don't know until we tell them.
Okay. Did you all hear that? Please unmute yourself when you're gonna ask a question.
Yeah, if you're on your phone, you'll have to unmute yourself to ask a question. And if you're on your computer, like I said, I prefer you raise your hand or unmute yourself.
See any hands? Also, Miss Vanessa Little.
Little.
Yes. I'm sorry, I don't have the hand raise thing on my iPad.
Oh, good.
That's good.
Okay, so when I got the notice on the 17th of May, I was in Exhibit C where it said that I filed it, but I missed one of the boxes, checking one of the boxes. So I immediately revised it and initialed it. And also it was the question about the work comp. So I also sent a copy of the certificate of insurance for that term. And I sent it via email along with my original acceptance from Christopher Gutierrez on December the 7th. I sent it on the 17th and I didn't get a response from him. So I don't know if we're okay or not.
Okay, so I'm not gonna go into individual cases, but I'll use this as the example of
Okay.
what I would like to see submitted. So take that, you have the email from Mr. Gutierrez printed out.
Yes.
Okay, I would prefer you send that, identify yourself, what business it is, and send the copy of that to the annual.reports email that was
Okay.
listed.
Okay.
That's basically the kind of confirmation that we'll be looking for, that shows that you followed up, you submitted an updated version, and had confirmation that it was received.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and
Because
if you
we
can
had,
put the warrant number as well, the warrant number will help.
do you want a copy of the certificate of insurance?
No, just the number.
Just
to
the
help
report?
track the list. The
Okay.
warrant number, the number.
Okay.
Mr. Hearing Examiners, I understand that the Transportation Division can receive phone calls if anybody has a question about what the status of their or their filings are. And I have a couple of phone numbers here that was given by the acting director of the Transportation Division in case someone needs to, excuse me, needs to call to get more information about the status of their order filings, and I have them here if I may.
Yes, thank you.
You can dial 505 795-1370, 505-490-0489.
We will post this in the notice anyway, and in the website, correct? Anna,
Yes,
we'll have those in.
yes.
And Anna, can you just verify, just share my screen again? I've got 505-795-1370, 505-490-0489.
They're correct.
Okay.
There is a question in the.
So that would be to
hearing
check, that would be to check on your status, whether or not you are currently on the revocation list or have been removed from the revocation list. As I indicated, if they indicate that you are still on the revocation list, that's when I want to see something that proves that it was submitted and received by the PRC to this email address here.
There is a person that has a question in the hearing room.
Sure.
You can go ahead, ask the question. Now we cannot
Needs to
hear.
be unmuted. Erica, can you assist with that?
Okay, there was a statement made a while ago that there was about 800 still in non-compliance. Is this a list that an individual like I can get a hold of to help these companies? Or is it private and can't be publicized?
That's a good question.
Ms. Jeffries, do we have a
I'll step
public
in
forum?
here. Yeah, so these are active cases and the list is constantly changing. As you can see, we now have another deadline for the 2022 annual reports. So it's not a final product yet. Once it's final, it's going to be submitted in the context of these hearings. So that, we don't know when that's going to happen. It sounds like it may be on the Monday following the deadline, right? So we'll have people working over the weekend to get those lists finalized. But at this point, it's still a work product and it's not subject to public release.
Thank you.
we appreciate your willingness to help out. Any more questions?
I had a question in the chat asking if 2024 annual reports have, if there is a form for 2024 annual reports yet.
Yes, there is a form and it's posted in the website, the 2022 annual report form. And we will also put the information about the link in the notice that will be issued in the order, in the scheduling order that will be issued today.
We also have another participant wanting to know about posting the address to the 2022 forms, which are already posted on our website at prc.nm.gov under the transportation section, and it's also on the front page of our website.
Yeah.
Madam Hearing Examiner, Mr. Hearing Examiner, this is Jason. Could I just clarify something? Because I think I heard two different responses.
Yes, of course.
The question in the chat room is related to a 2024 annual report form. This case is only referring to 2022 annual report forms.
Right.
Yeah.
So, can you repeat your question? What?
I just want to clarify that we are not addressing, as far as I know, the 2024 annual report form, correct?
Okay, right.
That's correct. The revocation standards are strictly limited to the 2022 annual report. I think we have triggered interest in everyone else getting up to speed and doing this on a more reliable basis as well. So I guess that's why we're getting questions about other annual report submissions. But the revocation is strictly limited to 2022. But of course, the rules indicate that we are supposed to be filing these annually. But the revocation hearing will strictly be based on the 2022 annual reports. Any other questions? Madam Hearing Examiner, I think we can adjourn.
Okay. Thank you so much for your presence today, for appearing and,
I'm sorry, there is another question on the chat.
okay.
It says, to clarify, if the form is submitted prior to the June 7th deadline, we do not need to attend the June 11 hearing. That's the question.
All right, that's a little off. You want the form submitted prior to the June 7th deadline and also confirmation that it was received.
Make sure that all the boxes in the form are properly filled so that it's not rejected like the case of Ms. Little. So thank you so much for presenting that example. So make sure they are, fill those forms out properly so they are not rejected and do it as soon as possible. If possible today, the sooner the better, because we have a lot of people here working on that, and we want to be able to process these cases as soon as possible. I wanted to clarify something before we leave. For staff to submit that updated list, the deadline should be maybe the 8th. So since we have said for them to submit the forms, the deadline is the 7th, could staff submit it on the 7th, the same day at 5 o'clock?
I'm sorry, no, that's not sufficient time, and the 8th I'll note is a Saturday.
Oh, well, I'm saying the 7th, so it's not sufficient time. So then, the 10th, can you submit that on the 10th?
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan, is that we would submit it by 5 o'clock on the 10th.
Okay.
It will depend on getting staff working over the weekend to get that done.
I have a question. I submitted mine yesterday, later in the afternoon. How will I get the confirmation that they received it or that I'm off the list? Will it be by email or how will it work?
If you did you submit it to the annual report?
Yes,
email?
I had called the one of the phone numbers on the notices, and I submitted to that prc.gov email, and then they told me to also add some Christopher Gutierrez. I also added him to that, so that way it's two people getting it, and I don't know how long it would take for the confirmation. I just wanted to kind of get an idea and how.
That's a good question. Ms. Jeffries.
Sure. So if we have people submitting annual reports on the 7th, it takes time to process those and to send out the confirmation. So some people may not receive their confirmation until Monday, the 10th. So they will not know until that point whether or not they'll need to attend the hearing on the 11th.
But I
But-
think his question was, he submitted yesterday.
Right.
What
Yes,
type of are we on a 2 or 3 day turnaround for confirmations
So,
or?
so it's really difficult to know because there's so much variance in the amount that are coming in. So we have 2 people on the backside that are trying to process these, and they're also answering calls and they're also responding to questions on the emails. So I can't give you a definitive date. They are doing their best. We want to try to have all the confirmations out certainly by the 10th.
But okay, so just wait till then. So then I would have to attend that next hearing, or even though I've submitted it and haven't got confirmation yet.
Yes,
Okay, that'll work.
so that's it, I think, unless there are any more questions. Well, in any event, thank you all for your hard work. Really appreciate, and we are adjourned until the hearing, which is June 8th, and we put 9 a.m.
That's
June 11th, sorry.
June 11th,
June
yes.
11th. I have the 8th in my head. June 11th at 9 a.m. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We are adjourned. And it is 9:43.